to Ogun State now, where a crisis is brewing in the state chapter of the All Progressive Congress APC. Now, this seems to be the case as former governor of the state, Ibikunle Amosun, during the week, led the African Democratic Congress ADC governorship campaign in the state against the candidate of his own APC and incumbent governor Dapo Abiodun. Amosun stormed the ADC governorship campaign flag of held at the Ake Palace ground in Abeokuta. That's the picture you are seeing now, to support the anointed candidate, B. Otegbeye, and that of his running mate, Tunde Awonuga, who they are running on the platform of the ADC. This is the second time Amosun would take such an action. Recall that in 2019, the former governor backed Adekunle Akinlade, who ran on the platform of the Allied People's Movement, APM, but lost to Abiodun with about 19,000 votes. Amosun called on the electorate to vote for his party's presidential candidate, Bola Tinubu. Chris, can you reconcile this?
I cannot reconcile it, but
okay.
I will say it with all sense of humility. Former governor Amosun is taking advantage of his closeness to the president to do all sorts of what I call anti-party activities. Governor Amosun, it is a fact.
That's unlike the president.
It's very, very good. Don't forget what happened when the president went for campaign. Was it 2019?
Yes.
2019. The president went for a campaign there, and we saw what happened when former governor Amosun is not. The fact is that it's either you are for your party or you are not for party. If you don't want to be a member of your party, all well and good. You cannot. It's just like what is happening between the so-called G5 and the PDP.
You are saying they are so-called. But go on.
No.
Go on.
You know why I said so-called? Because even within themselves, the center no longer holds. You cannot vote in all sense of unity. This was a party people. They said that they will come out to announce their presidential candidate preferred. Abi?
It's been difficult.
It's been difficult for them. This has been difficult. And we just have barely three weeks to the election. It will be difficult. Now, going back to, I thought that by now, the issue within the APC in Ogun State would have been solved. I thought it would have been solved. But the fact is that the current governor, I don't know to what extent he has gone, to be able to assuage some other members of his party to be able to bring peace to that party. Don't forget that
what's playing out?
Sir, there are about 3 factors in that Ogun State APC. 1 is the governor's factor. 2 is Amosun's factor. And the 3rd one is the factor of Chief Olusegun Osoba.
Okay.
Those 3. You can talk of the
but
former...
they're supposed to be statesmen.
No, but in politics is supposed to be give and take. The question you ask yourself...
Permanent interest.
Permanent interest. That is what has been happening. To see somebody of his caliber to go to another party to raise the hand of another gubernatorial candidate.
You know, he said something that he's been exploiting his relationship with the president. That was really spot on. Because back in 2019 or 2018, he even took this candidate
to the villa
of APM.
Yes.
He took him to show the president
at the villa.
Somebody who does not belong to your party. I mean, you and I know that in the context of the 1980 politics, nobody can do this.
Oh, yeah.
Because there was party discipline, the party-sponsored candidates, the parties electioneering campaigns and all that.
The governors were
not
this...
The party was supreme.
The governors were not this powerful.
No, because the party-funded candidates.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. These days, the governors who bring the money. It was not like that before.
Exactly.
The party-funded candidate. The party had big people. People like Babare Wane, they are the ones who will bring money for the funding of the party. You know? Government can patronize them in different ways.
You recall the chairman of the NPN at the time. He was the boss.
Yes, AMA at Akiloye. Yes. Now, you cannot belong to APC. The APC has its candidates, and you will be seen to be sponsoring candidate of a rival party to defeat the candidate of your own party. You did it the first time, you did it the second time. It can only be because he's bigger than the party or because he feels that somebody in the party will ensure that he is not disciplined for those actions. Because if the first time this happened, if Amosun was resisted or even sanctioned, he would think twice about
before going a second time.
In this same party, we've seen them expel somebody for abusing the president. This same APC, a chapter of the party in the Northeast, expelled someone for insulting the president. Now, people are going against the party's directive to work for the rivals of the party. You know, this thing happens a lot. It happens a lot in the APC. People are complaining that even some presidential candidates who lost out at the presidential primaries refused to support the candidate of the party. In the APC, you keep seeing people taking these kind of actions and getting away with it, especially those who are big in the party. Now, people have said, oh, that Amosun is doing this because he felt that Dapo Abiodun does not want his legacy maintained. Dapo Abiodun has been abandoning his projects. But even that is not entirely true. You look at the Shagamu Expressway, from where it begins right up to the front of Alaba Lawson School. He didn't complete it. It was Dapo Abiodun that completed it. Those bridges, the bridges in Kuta, all this area, he completed.
So it's like continuing your legacy.
See the point. Some said, "Oh, it's because he didn't want to sustain." You abandon his project. But I'm saying that flies in the face of facts because I've given an example of a major highway.
I'm understanding.
And that's what he completed with the bridges there.
Yeah.
So you can't say that, oh, he's been abandoning his project. Pansheke to Adigbe, everyone knows this. He didn't complete it. It was Dapo Abiodun that completed it. So you can't say he's abandoning your projects. You can talk the model schools. Yes, he didn't finish the model schools, but this man came, turned one of those model schools to a tech hub. That was one of the outskirts of Abeokuta. Then some of them, during the COVID season, he used them as isolation centers and all that.
Even the Ijebu Yepe Express that has just been completed. It's part of
so there is no reason. I'm saying that, okay, party leaders ought to be able to call these two men and say, look,
apply the brakes.
Ibikunle, no. You did this the first time. Don't do it again. Yes. What are your issues with this man? Let us sit down and resolve this. But for the party to behave like the conflict is not there and to allow this former governor to do what he did the first time, to do it again. I mean, this is the first time I'm saying this happening. This is the first time.
Chris, at this point, you must believe what late President Ronald Reagan said. He said, I have been told that politics is the second oldest vocation or profession on earth, but it bears a semblance to the oldest. You know the oldest?
I don't know the oldest. That one.
Okay.
That or that one. Those are Jelegba.
So there are no morals, no rules, and so on.
That's what I was saying. It's a fact. But I think maybe after this election,
this is not political.
This is not political
prostitution.
Yes, this is not. What I'm saying in essence is that we have to go back to what it used to be, where the political parties have to be supreme. Where the parties are supreme, which is why some governors will hold presidents on his jugular on issues.
But quickly, recall that the first and only president in our history to be, first president, governor to be impeached was the old Kaduna man.
Balarabe Musa, of course.
Because he was a PRP man and the state assembly was predominated by the NPN folks. It can't happen now.
It can't. The fact remains that we have to be able to tinker with situation where we don't have a set of people. Don't forget, this did not start now. Even during the beginning of the Second Republic, you saw what happened when the vice president, now contesting, practically took Atiku practically took Obasanjo out of this thing for the second term. When he gathered, because he had a lot of governors with him, led by Ibori. Many people have forgotten, led by Ibori then, that Obasanjo has to go and beg them to allow him to go to, and that is where the problem with Atiku started.
I say he kneeled down.
No, I don't know whether he kneeled down or not.
It wasn't even Atiku's fault. Those governors were tired of Obasanjo. And the meeting was held in your former governor's lodge, Ata's lodge in Abuja. And they said, look, it's you that we want. It's you that we want. And Atiku was like, because Obasanjo asked Atiku in 1999 on network television, will you be loyal? Before the election in 1999, you know, Atiku had won election to be governor of Adama for Obasanjo. But he asked him that question, Nigerians were watching. Will you be loyal to me? So Atiku too must have been thinking that, this man asked me this question. If I upstage him now, because I have the support of these governors, won't Nigerians see clearly that I wasn't loyal? Yeah. So he was prepared to wait.
So it was like a subtle blackmail.
No, in his own heart, he felt he needed to do what was right, to not take his boss's place. A person who considered you for the position of his deputy.
Obasanjo going that extent.
No, not blackmail. He didn't know him enough, but he picked him and he wanted to be sure.
Yes. Because
he said, will you be loyal?
Because of the Yaradua factor.
Yes, he just wanted to be sure.
It was because of the Yaradua factor.
So he asked him the question. That look, will you be loyal to me?
PDM.
Yes, PDM.
Will you be loyal to me?
Not the Shehu Yaradua, the president, but the chief of staff, the former chief of staff.
So, and Atiku promised him that loyalty. So, people won't forget that, 3 years after, he's taking his place. So, Atiku too must have been thinking, look, it won't be fair for me to do this. And he chose not to do it. Many people today will say, he spawned the best chance for him to become president of Nigeria. But if God wills that he will be president, he can still be president. None of us is God. None of us is God. So we're still talking about loyalty. Party loyalty is very, very important. You must be sure that everyone is singing on the same, from the same hymn book. If the party says this, who will back, then everybody should go in that direction. But where the party says this, and you chose to do this, you are not even sending the right signals to the oncoming generation. Because politics should not be like that. If there are issues, the party must resolve those issues and get everybody, in the same boat.
After all, Jide and Kehinde, what we normally say is there's life after political office. There is. And many of them hardly look at that life.
There is. Let me say this quickly before we move to this next part. Part of the problem with what Amosun is having is that, don't forget that Amosun had his candidate in 2019. It wasn't Dapo Abiodun.
Yeah.
Remember vividly, it wasn't him. He had his candidate. That's the same APC. Because I remember vividly that we also have one of our colleagues that was a commissioner under, you remember vividly, one of our colleagues that was a commissioner under
Amosun.
Amosun. You remember him vividly.
Yeah.
I'm not mentioning his name. And at a point, they thought he was even going for the House of Assembly. They thought that they had everything under wrap. Only at the last moment, he couldn't get his own faction of the party to be the one that was finally accepted by INEC and the court and the rest of them. He jumped ship. Amosun jumped ship before the 2019 election, and since then he has not looked back. But what we are saying in essence
because he didn't like the choice of...
So the choice, that's what I'm saying. Because he didn't like the choice of... But I would have believed.
Time is a master here.
And
Chris,
the primaries of the party.
what next?
Hold
What
on,
next?
let me explain. The primaries of the party yielded Dapo Abiodun. He remains convinced that the exercise was manipulated from Abuja. We are going back to what I can explain.
Yes.
If his candidate had won, he would have remained.
He would have remained.
Ah,
That's
so
it. He would have
now
remained.
he felt that, oh, they manipulated the thing. You know, even he still said recently that the election that Abiodun won was rigged. You know, that is surreal for you to say that your party, because it still belongs to APC, to say that your party rigged election.
Against him.
You know?
Against
So all these things now, but after 4 years, I would expect that he will not repeat
have been done with.
this thing again. And Abdul Kabir Akinlade, that he supported at that time, is now the deputy governorship candidate to the PDP candidate. That was the person that he brought at that time.
Yes,
so he has
that's
also
the
dumped that
plan.
one
And
gone for a new person.
So what next
Now,
for him?
what next?
The
What
next.
if he doesn't? What if his candidate doesn't win again?
Then
That's a question. What will happen next?
What next for me is we're still going back to the party. And I believe that the president, we have a saying in Igbo land that when you see a small child dancing by the bush
side.
the person where they
know
mark,
the drummer.
person where they drummer where they drum the thing there inside bush. You know what they see. But the fact remains that I will repeat what I said earlier on. Amosun is using the advantage of his closeness. He is very close to me. And it is for the president to be able to come in.
And the national chairman
of the party. Come these two passion together and work together so that they can be able to go into the election as a single force.
Gentlemen, my kind word is to tell former Governor Amosun, when you leave the room, don't slam the door. You may want to come back in.